Hello everybody, welcome to this next week. Now this week we're going to be moving on and we're going to now be looking at picturing yourself. Remember when we talked about the different levels of communication? Well, we're really going to be focusing on intrapersonal communication before we dive into interpersonal and small group. So looking at intrapersonal communication and picturing yourself along with kind of figuring out others, which is what we talked about last time with culture. So we're going to dive in a little bit more. So first, let's look at the self-fulfilling prophecy. Now I know you probably have heard of the self-fulfilling prophecy, but you probably do not know what the actual circle of it looks like. And this is in your text, so you can look at this and figure out what exactly it is, and it gives you a little bit more detail than what we're going to go over today. But this is the self-fulfilling prophecy. Basically, all it's saying is that you're going to start here and you're going to then create an idea within yourself, and then because you have thought of that idea, you're then going to actually do that. Okay? Now, that's very vague, I know. So let's kind of think about an idea. You come into a test and you think, oh my gosh, I didn't study, I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail. Well, what's going to happen is you will fail because you're doing self-fulfilling prophecy. This is why talking to up to yourself and saying, you're going to do great, you're going to do fine, it actually works. Now, a lot of times if you say, if you don't study at all, it's going to be the hardest test ever, and you say you're going to do great, that's not what it's going to do. You might not actually do great. But if you actually tell yourself constantly that you're going to fail, you're going to fail, you end up going to fail. Psychologists also look at this, and they say, if you look at someone, let's say there's 5 people, and then there's one person talking to them. So at the very beginning of the day, one person walks in, and the first person says, oh, you look a little sick. Are you sick? And the person's like, no, I feel fine. Okay? And then they go to the next class, or they go hang out with friends or whatever, and they're like, oh, dude, you okay? You look a little pale, you look sick. The person's gonna be like, no, I feel fine, but maybe I am. And then the next person's gonna say, hey, you okay? You look sick. Oh, no, I think I might be coming down to something. The next person says, hey, do you look sick? Yeah, I'm kind of feeling a little sick. And then the 5th person says, hey, do you look sick? Yeah, I'm really sick. Even though the person felt perfectly fine and they didn't look sick. But these 5 people got together and say, hey, we're going to try to see if this person will change their mind. In their mind, self-fulfilling prophecy, within psychology and communication, this is where you can set your mind to something and you can actually trick yourself into doing that. So if you're going to say, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail, failing is something you can easily do on your own, meaning you're going to fail. So before going into a test, before doing stuff like that, make sure you're not doing self-fulfilling prophecy and have that intrapersonal communication be successful within yourself. Now, looking at yourself along with others looking at yourself, this is called Johari's window, and there are 4 different parts. So hopefully you all know how to look at a grid, but just in case, we're going to show you. So here's a grid, so it says known to self, not known to self, and then known to others and not known to others. So when looking at this grid, we're going to say known to self goes down right here. So there are 2 squares that known to self fits in. And then we're going to do known to others, and that's going to fit in right over here. Now, not known to self is going to fit in here with these 2, and then not known to others is going to fit in here. Hopefully you all know how to look at a grid and how to analyze that, but just in case. So what we're going to be looking at is where there are crosses. Okay? So first, we're going to be looking at let me erase it so you, okay? So first, we're going to be looking at right here, the known to others and known to self, meaning I know it and you know it. So this is called open. Open means that it's open to everyone. I know it, you know it, it's open, everyone knows it, it's public knowledge. But now kind of crossing over, not known to self, but known to others, this is called blind, meaning others can see it, but I don't see it, or you don't see it, but others can see it. That means, for example, this is kind of a broad example, but if you have a toilet paper stuck on your shoe and you're just kind of walking and you're like, la 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 la, but others know it and you don't. Another really good example is, so growing up, I always try to figure out what I want to do. And I'm still kind of in that phase, but I always knew I was good at teaching. but I didn't really think I wanted to be a teacher, and I went and looked at doing engineering, and I was really good at mathematics. So I did engineering for a little bit. I also loved to play music, so I did music for a little bit. I was just trying to find whatever I wanted to do. And once I graduated college, I was still kind of doing that. But I was still trying to find what I wanted to do. But my mom and my sister and my dad, they all knew that I was going to be a teacher. So that was something that I didn't know, but they knew. So that was blind to me. Now looking at known to self, but not known to others, this is hidden. This is like secrets. I know it, but you don't know it. So there's a lot of things that happen like this. So there's stuff that's within my personal life that you don't know. There's stuff within your personal life that I don't know. But I know it, but you don't. So known to self, not known to others. That's hidden. Okay, now as we go, then we're going to have not known to self and then not known to others. Okay? And that's our last one, unknown. Basically, we don't know. We don't know what the future has in store for us. We don't know anything like that. Others do not know it, and we do not know it. An example I always like to use for that is kind of the Avengers. We don't really know. They don't really know what's going to happen with Infinity War, and all of a sudden it happens, and we're all like, "Oh my gosh, that happened!" And the Avengers were like, "What's happening?" So, known to themselves, the Avengers, they didn't know what was going on. And known to others, the audience, we didn't know what was going on. So it's a whole fiasco of, oh, what is happening? Now again, that's a stretching example, but it's a good example. Now, moving on to our last section. This is perception. This goes in with our stereotyping and our prejudice section. But perception is basically the process of which we make sense out of an experience. So we do something, and we all see it differently. It's how we encode, how we decode what just happened. Okay, so remember encode and decoding from the communication process lesson? That's what this is kind of doing, is how we're making sense of the world around us, how we're looking at it. And we're saying, oh, that makes sense because of this. A great example of that would be these two items. So first, a lot of people might see two faces. Some people might see a vase. Some might see both because we've seen it a lot. But it's the perception that we look at it. Some people might see like a vase or a cup or something like that. But others might see two faces. It all depends on your perception. Along with the, is it a duck or is it a rabbit? Okay, so here's the duck's beak with the eye, or here's the rabbit with the ears. So it all depends on your perception on how you look at life. When I was studying psychology, and I still do a lot with psychology, this tells a lot. And looking at this, depending on if you pick duck first or rabbit first, or if you automatically see them, that actually tells a lot about your life and kind of where you come from within your life and what you're doing. Now, moving on to our last section. This is going to be part of your grading for this week, so make sure you listen up, okay? So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you an example of just sentences. So when I read you the example of these sentences, what you're going to need to do is either place the word he or the word she within there, okay? So I'm just going to read you the start of the sentence, and then in your mind, you're going to put he or she. So I'd recommend right now pausing it, pull out a pen, pencil, or paper, and then once you're ready, we're going to go ahead and start. Again, I'm going to just tell you first in a sentence, and then you're going to say, oh, that's a he, or that's a she. Okay? So let's go ahead. Before a physician gives a diagnosis, again, so you put he or she there. Before a physician gives a diagnosis. Now, number 2. Before a person buys clothes. Number 2. Before a person buys clothes. Number 3. Before a babysitter puts the baby to bed. Before a babysitter puts the baby to bed. Number 4. Before a person loans another person money. Number 4. Before a person loans another person money. Number 5. Before a nurse delivers medicine to a patient. Before a nurse delivers medicine to a patient. Number 6. Before a judge begins a trial. Number 6. Before a judge begins a trial. Number 7. Before an engineer inspects a bridge. Before an engineer inspects a bridge. Number 8. Before a librarian lets students surf the web. Before a librarian lets students search the web. Number 9. before a teacher grades an assignment, before a teacher grades an assignment, and the last, number 10, before an attorney accepts a client. Before an attorney accepts a client. Okay, again, what you should have done after every single start of that sentence is, you should have put he or she, place the correct pronoun into it. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take your he's and she's and you're just going to write. Number 1, I put he, she. Number 2, I put he, she, depending on which one you did. And then explain it. Did you put he because your mom does, or did you put he because your mom, did you put he because your dad does that job? Or did you put she because your sister does that? Or you put she because that's what you want to do and you are a she? Or you put he because that's what you want to do? So explain why you put that. Again, there are no right or wrong answers. Just tell us he or she and explain why you did that. And then you're going to go post on other people's and say, hey, I did the same thing, but mine were for different reasons. Or, hey, I had the different thing, but for similar reasons, or whatever. Just comment on people's items. And finally, you're going to read the gender gap assignment. You have to read your weekly assignments, which you have two chapters from your book. But you also need to read the gender gap assignment, and then you're going to write a short little participation thing about the gender gap assignment and tell us what it meant, what it was saying, and different things like that. Okay? Other than that, if you have any more questions, feel free to ask me, and I will be here to answer just like I am every week. And if you don't have any questions, then you have a great week. Bye, guys.